There was a time in my life where I was suicidal and I was at a very dark, low space in my life. And I understood why people commit suicide in that space. What a true artist understands when they're taking a rock to turn it into a piece of art is that the art does not come from them. The art comes from the rock. The rock has to show them what it's capable of becoming. And so being his assistant was amazing because I got to learn a lot and I learned a lot of amazing processes. But I was ready to kill my brother.
It's easier buying a company than starting it from scratch.
Oh my God, yeah.
I would rather buy a company, throw marketing into it because 99% is a lot of marketing, a lot of systems that are lacking in the business, and scaling it and selling. Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show, your go-to for real estate, business, health, and family insight. I'm Chris Salerno, CEO of QC Capital. Each episode, we explore the latest trends and expert advice from industry leaders. Whether you're an investor, entrepreneur, or seeking balance, this show provides an inspiration you need. Join us and elevate your game on the Chris Salerno Show. Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show. I'm your host, Chris Salerno. Very excited to have a friend of mine, Hannah, onto the show. We actually met having cigars at one of our favorite spots here in Charlotte. So if you ever have cigars, I hope you do. It's a great place to have a conversation, to get to know people, and to just relax. And I've been fortunate to get to know Hannah just briefly and excited for this because we're going to dive deep into your whole history. I love your Instagram. It's old school. We're going to talk a little bit about The Great Gatsby. I don't know if you've seen it.
See it.
Oh, you have to. But I'll let you start it off. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself, and what you're currently doing.
Awesome. So obviously my name's Hannah. The unique part about me is my name is Hannah.
Love that.
That was a married name. We'll get into that down the road. But anyways, I was born and raised in Colorado. My family was a hardworking ranch family, and it was a beautiful life. So
Colorado's beautiful. The city, Denver, reminds me of Charlotte. It's clean. It does smell like marijuana when you walk down there. But it kind of reminds me of Charlotte. It's a clean city. I like Denver.
It is a clean city. I was there and I left, and I don't miss Denver. So Colorado was kind of going in a direction that I was not happy with anymore.
Got it.
I've lived abroad. I've traveled all over the world, but
very cool.
Colorado's home.
Yeah.
So to a degree, the mountains always call me home. I'm a big skier. And so growing up on our family ranch, we ran about 2,000 to 3,000 head of sheep and close to 1,000
And this is
head of
not
cattle.
like a small ranch.
No.
This is a 2,000 acre ranch.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It was 4,000 acres when I was born.
You have the cowboy hat as a cowgirl riding?
Well, the funny thing is my dad, cowboy to the core.
Really?
I mean, he was a renowned horse trainer, and we were one of the original cattle, ranching families, like true cowboys.
Really?
My grandpa was bow-legged from all his years of riding and training
No
horses.
way.
Yeah, he couldn't walk straight. It was great. And they hated cowboy hats. My dad hates cowboy hats. Yep.
Wow.
We didn't listen to country music. That is all a farce.
That's just all for the TV shows.
It is.
Wow.
But now I love country music.
Yeah.
And I'm down with some cowboy hats.
There you go. 2,000 acres. That's a lot to handle.
2,000 acres was a lot. I always joke, my brother and I, that we were born for ranch slave labor. Because
Really?
running an operation that big.
I mean,
we
as
were
a
put to
kid,
work.
you are out. There's no video games. You're out on the farm.
We were never allowed to have video games. We would do TV shows Friday night, at TGIF, if we all remember that.
Oh, yeah.
And but other than that, we were kicked out of the house. We were homeschooled for the majority of our lives.
Really?
Yeah.
And is that because of, being out there with the ranch, the farm, things like that? Or is it they just didn't care for it? Because a lot of people these days, and I said this earlier with Stephanie, is that I would love to homeschool my son.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of the politics and what's going on right now and what they're teaching them that I don't approve of.
I homeschool my kids.
Do you? And how many kids do you have?
2 boys.
So you have 2 boys,
Yep,
mother of
14 and
boys.
15. Yes,
they're
that's
wild.
Right. They're amazing.
My son's 4.5 going on 25.
Yes.
So you homeschool them.
I do.
Now, was that because you were homeschooled or because I know you had some politics in Colorado as well that you dealt with.
Yes, I did. And, it is politics, but it's also personal belief systems.
100%.
Back in the day when I was homeschooled, homeschoolers were considered very weird. And I would agree with that.
And I said that too. They were the ones that were like, oh, they're not going to have any friends. They're, quiet, something strange with them. But these days, totally changed.
It has changed. But, because I would say to people, I'm homeschooling my kids, and their first reaction to me was, oh, your kids are going to be so weird. They need socialization. And I'm like, that is bullshit.
It is bullshit.
All of my siblings, so I have 4 siblings total, and none of us are socially awkward. We're all very
You're very
entrepreneurs.
outgoing, and every time I've seen you, and that's why I've messaged you. You look like Daisy from The Great Gatsby.
I'm gonna have to see this.
You have to watch The Great Gatsby. But you are dressed to the nines every time I see you.
I will. It's important to me, and
I love that.
That started on the ranch, So
Did it?
It did. As a little girl, I dressed myself, and I remember getting made fun of. I remember
Really?
coming downstairs one day in blue corduroy pants. I was probably 5.
Yeah.
And a pink shirt, and getting made fun of because they didn't match.
Now,
would
was that
fix my own hair.
from your brothers?
Sisters.
Sisters.
So I
your
have 2
sisters.
sisters and 1 brother.
Got it. And so so you grew up at 5 years old already taking heat, and now, because I can tell now your personality, you're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Which you have to get to that point
It
too
took
in life.
years.
Yeah.
It took years, and that'll come out as I tell my story. That's been a huge part of my personal journey is my autonomy.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I always say is before you can love someone else, you have to love yourself.
Right.
And if you can't love yourself, you're going to hear what everyone says, and you're going to take that to heart. But if you truly love yourself, you're not even going to care. You're just going to go on about your day.
It is, it is very true, but it's like the process of learning to love yourself. I even had to face something just a couple days ago, a realization of a part of myself that still struggles to feel like I have a right to be loved.
Really?
And so it's an ongoing thing because as we have experiences in life and pieces of us break off that we thought were us,
Yeah.
then we have to learn to love that part of ourselves that comes out.
100%.
So
That's
it's
deep.
an ongoing process, yeah.
It is. And I think it will always keep on going because we always change.
Yes.
New people come into our lives, we met, new people come into our lives, both personal and friendships, acquaintances, and we change as humans. So we have to be able to love that part that leaves and love the part that comes back in.
You do.
Yeah.
This is a topic that I could get super deep into.
I love it. So fashion all the way since 5.
Fashion since 5. And so I used to get on my horse. I don't know if you saw any of my pictures on any of the websites, but I would wear my mom's wedding dress cape. So she had this huge cape that she wore for her wedding.
Love that.
And she gave it to me, and I would always go ride my horse in this wedding dress cape because as a child, growing up on that much land and having to work all day, and we didn't get to go hang out with friends a lot and stuff like that because my family didn't have a lot of money. Ranchers were not rich.
No, there.
Actually, quite the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would get on my horse and pretend for hours a day when the chores were done and I was able to. And so always I'd go play in the creek in a dress. Like I loved dresses. I was a very feminine tomboy.
Really?
Yeah.
And so your sisters were not like that?
Not at all.
Really?
Not at all. And my brother has a fashion sense. So he is very fashion oriented and very style oriented. And the funny part is he's my best friend.
I love that.
And so we're very close. But yeah, it's been something that's been with me my entire life. And I've had to learn to understand what that is.
Yeah.
So jumping storylines a little bit, even when I became a professional mountain biker, I had a bike that I wasn't pro yet.
Yep.
I was working towards it. And I had a downhill bike that I wanted to get painted, and I wanted to paint it red.
Interesting.
And so
why red?
I just loved red.
Yeah.
I thought it was bold. And I had a company that made mountain bikes, not my kind of mountain biking. So they allowed me to use their tools, and then they were going to powder coat the bike for me. And so, I did all the hard work. I've got all these pictures of when I was blasting it and sanding it and just getting everything ready. Well, long story short, we got it painted, and I came in to see it, and they're like, Hannah, don't be disappointed. But it didn't turn out the color you wanted it to turn out. And they brought the bike out, and it was pink.
Well, that's a big difference. Pink to red, to me, that's a big difference.
And in that moment, it was like a scene in a movie where just all of a sudden an epiphany happened.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and I was a very optimistic person. I still am. And so when I saw it, all of a sudden I was like, I knew what I was supposed to do with that pink bike. And it was that I was supposed to bring feminine nature to very strong sports.
Masculine in sports, yeah.
Yes. And so I started wearing pink boxers because I had to wear baggier clothes to do the things that I did on a bike. And so I'd wear pink boxers, and I started to do this trend so that when I did get sponsored, I rode for Gary Fisher mountain bikes. They actually gave me money to go shopping because that was one of my trends in the industry, was dressing more feminine,
Wow.
but doing things and competing with men.
Yeah, very interesting. And we're going to touch on that because mountain biking is not easy, very dangerous, very rough, especially out in Colorado. So we're definitely going to dive more into that. So always had that fashion sense. And I love that. And like I said, every time I see you, you're dressed to the nines. And I think, the way you dress will present a certain type of energy. Me, I dress in all black. It's just easy. I can throw on, I can go. But I love it because I can go to meetings. I can go to dinner. I can go on dates. I can, do whatever I want. And I'm always in one easy, color. When it comes to fashion, what really, to stay on top of the trends, what do you look at? What do you, the news that comes in, like what really interests you on that sort of spectrum to staying on top of the trends?
To be honest with you, none of it.
Really? You just go with your own flow.
Yes.
I love that.
It's sort of the journey that I've been on of, hanging on and learning my own autonomy and owning my own autonomy. Authenticity is attractive. Authenticity is what attracts us to people when they're living in their personal power and they're living at their potential. Everybody living at their potential is their own unique authenticity. And it's not always easy to find that. It's a journey. That's something I love to help people find.
Life's a journey.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's fun. And you have to make sure you have the right people on your journey with you.
Yes.
And at first, it's difficult to find those right people. People are going to leave, and that you thought that we're the right ones, but they were meant to leave. And you have to make sure you have that right group on your journey because it makes life even more enjoyable.
Well, and see, that's kind of the way I see clothes, is styles come and go, right? And
they do.
I'm not a fan of quote unquote fashion, the way that you see it in runways and all this stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Some of the stuff I see, and I'm like, were they high when they created this? Like, who? Like, why would someone want to come and spend $20,000 for a seat to look at that?
Right.
Like, come on.
Well, I've learned a lot because I'm getting a little bit into the runway side of
things
and stuff.
Actually,
like that.
you have. I've been seeing it on your Instagram.
Yeah. So my eyes have been open to that because I used to be like, what the fuck? Is
like
that?
if you look at Balenciaga's, runway stuff, I'm like, come on. And I like Balenciaga. I love their shoes. I have a hoodie. That's all I have of Balenciaga is their shoes and a hoodie. Other than that, the stuff I see, I'm like, okay, like that's
They're opening up a store in South Park.
Oh, and are they? Balenciaga is.
The other day I walked by and they had a mural and they had this picture of a girl in this outfit. Yeah. And I'm all, the fuck is that?
You had to sit there for like 10 minutes to be like, try to
who the hell is going to wear that? Like,
no
that's
one is.
so unattractive.
No.
That might be.
No, I agree.
But when you're on a runway, anything's possible. That's the thing about runways. And that's kind of the fun is artists get to
let their expression out in some, with someone wearing what they are expressing.
Yes. So even with me, when I've styled people on runways or helped style people, I always let them know anything goes, and that's fun when anything goes.
Yeah, you have no limit.
Creative freedom.
I love that.
And
I love that.
That's really what the weird stuff's about on the runways.
Is that creative freedom?
So
5 years old, love fashion. Talk to us about that next step. Where you said, hey, I'm out of Colorado. Or I'm not a fan of it, but that may be after the pro biking. So I want to talk about the pro biking. What really what was your thought process of, hey, Dad, Mom, I want to go and do this extreme sport? Now, Colorado's perfect for it.
It is. Yeah. Growing up in a ranch family, my dad, my relationship with my parents is amazing and very unique, and it's been a huge part of my growth.
I love that.
I'd called my family very much a get over it family. There was not a lot of empathy. We were very tough.
No excuses. Shut up. Get over it. And having that get over it attitude, I think is super important. And I was talking to someone who has daughters, and I said, with a daughter, I don't think I could be that way. But with my son, I am. When he falls, hey, suck it up. Let's go. It's you didn't break a bone. You're good. Keep going. And I think mentally, when you do that when they're young, it really forms in their mind that the little things, they can go ahead and shove off their shoulders. It's only the majority of the big things that they really need to focus on. And I think that's super important because if you look back at all the situations we deal with as humans, it's really the little things that get us worked up for no reason. Stuff you can't control. Why would it let you get, don't let it affect you and get you worked up on it. So how has that, mentality of when you were raised, transitioned over into your sons that you've, raised too?
So you might have to keep me on track a little bit because I'm going to side rail just for a second.
Oh, I'll keep you on track.
So
I got you.
So I'm gonna challenge some of that a little bit because like I said, I was raised in a very get over it family. So I was a very empathic child. I could feel people's pain. I hurt for people a lot. So when I did go to public school and I would come home, I'd be in tears about something that a friend did, or friends would be being mean to me, or they'd be going through a hard time, and I would take that on. And I remember times where I'd sit down with my mom, and my parents did the best they knew how to do because my parents came from get over it families. And but we were not a very emotionally healthy family. And so my mom would sit on the bed with me and she might let me cry for a second. And then it was like, oh, Hannah, like, you can't take that on yourself. Just get over it, right?
Get over it.
And so you did learn how to suck it up and move on. But there's an aspect of that that's not healthy. And it's learning how to communicate with our children.
100%.
That is not, like, a problem with our society now is they have no coping skills whatsoever.
Yeah, and they can't communicate it.
No, not at all. Or they over-communicate it, and then they stay stuck, victimized to it.
Yep.
And so you have to be able to, more is caught than taught. Your kids are going to watch how you live your life and how you handle things.
And they're sponges too.
100%.
Even if you don't even think about it, they are looking at you and they're going to take every footstep you take.
Yep. My mom always said your kids are barometers.
Yeah.
And when you're having a hard time, your kids are going to reflect that hard 100%. Time. And I've seen that over and over.
And they feel your energy too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so here's how I see it. This gets into a further subject that we can go down later, but I've studied a lot around the human energy field and stuff. I was raised in a very Christian family.
Yeah. We talked about that before.
Yeah, that's a long story. I wanted to be an evangelist. I wanted to start the world's largest extreme sports ministry.
Wow.
And through part of my journey, I came out of religion and I opened my mind and my heart to a much broader spectrum of God. And I've had a lot of fun understanding the human energy field and understanding how we function. And our children, up until a certain age, they don't have the energy function in their bodies to process trauma and to process things. So
they don't.
When a child falls and hurts themselves and they run to the parent, they're connecting to your energy field.
Correct.
And they're taking that trauma that just happened, that pain or whatever, which is
transferring
energy.
it to you.
They're transferring it to you. Well, actually what happens is you're connecting to their energy field. So maybe they're only developed up to the third chakra, if you want to call it that. And that pain is in the stomach, right? Well, when they connect to your field, you actually, if you could picture cables going into their field, you light up their field. And then they're able to process that energy through. Yeah. And until that child is done crying over the pain, the energy is not fully processed. So when we tell our children, get over it, if they don't know how to relax and release, at least teach them to relax and release. Relax 100%. The body, relax the arms, relax the chest. It's literally a function of the body of relaxing, releasing.
I love that.
It stays trapped. And so a lot of us are stuck at certain age, all of us are stuck at certain ages in our lives of traumas that we have experienced.
We all have traumas.
Because we don't process it. We don't relax and release and let the heart digest that energy and then push it back out.
And a lot of circumstances, people don't want to process it. They don't want to face it head on.
It hurts.
Yeah,
it's physically painful when you start to do that.
And I've looked into ayahuasca. And I haven't tried it, but I've looked into it heavily, talked to a lot of people that have, and that is one of the things with ayahuasca is it brings you back to those childhood memories. And it's like, whether you like it or you're not, you're going to face it. Yeah. And a lot of people break down. They break down in tears while doing ayahuasca because they face those childhood traumas. One thing I do with my son, and he even did this last night. So I pick him up on Wednesdays, and I was like, okay, before bed, we're going to take a bath. He says, no, I want to take a shower and meditate. I said, okay. So he wants me to spray lavender spray mist in the shower while it sprays. And he sits there on the ground, and I've taught him how to breathe very calmly and focus on his thoughts. And there's all different forms of meditation, but the ones I'm working on with him is the breathing technique and just focusing on what you are currently thinking of at the moment. And it has translated over to when he gets upset, he's crying, and I said, Cruz, breathe. And the first thing he goes, nice deep breaths. And then after a couple seconds, I said, okay, now let's process this. And that has helped tremendously. And I'm so happy that even at 4 and 4.5 years old that he wants to meditate. He understands it. He knows it calms him down. And that helps him so they don't react to something that, hopefully he doesn't have to react to, but he doesn't take it out of proportion. So I think that's super important, really, as a parent, nurturing them, but also understanding that you have to have that connection, and the way you do it, they're going to live with that.
Yes.
And they're going to take that on as their kids as well.
So I have a saying that life I correlate life and God as the same thing. So when I say life, it is source. So I have a saying that life gave me in a very quiet space in my life of, in a sense, meditation.
Yeah.
But it taught me that life raises good kids. Nobody lets it. And it's because we all think we know better.
Yeah.
And
That's
so when that statement was spoken inside of me in this quiet space, it's never left me. Truth needs no strength. And you have to learn to trust the truth, not be the truth. And so as I raise my kids, I recognize that life actually raises my kids. I give them knowledge. I share my experiences. And the one thing that I always encourage, you have to live honestly in front of your children.
Yeah.
And as I live honestly in front of my children, because I've had a wild life. I mean, I've had 4 marriages, I've had multiple businesses, I've had failings, moves, all this stuff.
Yeah.
I've lived so honestly in front of my kids that the conversations we have are profound. And
I believe
them
it.
watching me openly and shamelessly, and sometimes with shame, share choices I've made, things that I've done, apologize to them for dragging them through things, then it's going to let life give them circumstances. And it's already happening where my kids will go through circumstances and then we'll talk about it and see, maybe it's something I shared with them, but see, life has to give experiences. That's the only way we learn. And so life is raising my kids. I'm only here to watch, observe, and help them find their way back home.
Yeah, you're helping them. You're guiding them through their journey, but you're not forcing them to go through a certain journey. And I think you're spot on with that. Not naming names or anything, but I have spoken to children before where they have seen in certain circumstances one parent lying against the other parent, and the child, just by life, knows that it's a lie and is resenting that parent because they know that that's not the right thing to do, is lie. Yeah. And in very young child, and it's like it's so shocking how life just presents that to them and they understand it. And at the end of the day, when you do that to your children, they're just going to resent you. They're going to grow up seeing you as a liar, not seeing you as a good person. And whether you like it or not, that's their thoughts because of it.
It's hard, because I've also seen times where children get swayed by a parent that lies.
Oh, yeah.
And they hate the parent that is not lying.
Correct. Yeah, I've seen that.
A lot of I hate this word because it gets thrown out like cotton candy and at a fair, is narcissism.
Oh my God, it's everywhere. It's all over social media too.
Narcissistic traits.
Yes,
all of
everyone.
us.
It's just at different levels.
Yes,
100%.
There are more severe levels.
Yes,
and at a severe level, you do deal with those people that are a little bit more on the clinical side.
Correct.
That will sway people, and I've seen that. And I just have to encourage the parents that life is going to take care of their kid. They just need to live honestly in front of them.
That's right. No, that is super important. Super important. So talk to us. What sparked your interest about mountain biking?
So mountain biking. Sorry, we got way off track there.
No, you're good. I'm bringing you back on, like I said.
I know that. So sports. I am an adrenaline junkie.
I love that.
I love extreme sports, and I always wanted to ride horses. So
and that's extreme too. I've been bucked off a horse, and it's not fun. I've been bitten by a horse. That doesn't feel good either. Yeah, those horses really will get you. I've been on some wild ones that are just, it's hard to tame.
It is, and I would get on bareback and I would take off running across our thousands of acres, and then in high school. So when I finally did go to public school, that's really a time when kids need something that gives them purpose, or
Correct.
They get lost.
They
in the
need to
crowd.
find purpose.
They do.
Because when I dropped out of college, and so happy I did, but when I was in college, I remember I talked to so many kids, and they're like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I want to do. And I'm thinking in my head, you're racking yourself in debt. All you're doing is partying, and you don't know what you want to do. Yeah. Leave college, go work a job, and figure out what you want to do. And if it demands a college degree, go do it.
I love
that.
But
if not, why are you even here? It just doesn't make sense.
I'm blessed with parents like I had, because my dad was a professional athlete, and my mom, she just grew up in a great way where they never forced us on academics.
I love that.
As long as we just got through. I almost dropped out of high school, and when they finally gave me the power to decide, I decided to stay. And but they always told us, at least take a year off. Yeah. And they've never forced our hand into academics. So I don't do that with my children either.
I love that. And No, that's super important. One thing I tell college kids too, or high school kids going into college, if you don't know what you want to do, or if you know, a good idea of what you want to do, go to a 2-year community college. It's going to be cheaper, and you're going to understand everything. After that, if you don't know what you don't want to do, great, you got your associates. It was very cheap. You're good. If not, you then always transfer to 4-year, because your first 2 years at a 4-year university is basic stuff anyway. It has nothing to do with your degree. It's prepping you for your degree in your junior and senior year. So why rack up the money?
Well, here's the thing with school, and it's going to be a little bit harsh, but school is like a birdcage.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking all these kids and, from this time to this time, sit down, shut up, do what we say.
That's right.
And this is what you're going to see.
It's
This is
prison.
what you're going to believe.
It's prison. The food
prison.
they feed you, everything
Yes.
like that, it's basically prison. But what it does, it molds you to a 9 to 5. Why? Because school
Exactly.
starts basically 9 to 5.
Yep.
And then you go home and you have some homework after. But that's what it molds you to. It's a 9 to 5 job. You only get a 30-minute, 45-minute, if you're lucky, an hour lunch break, which
If that.
yeah, I don't think they do that anymore. It's only, 30 minutes or 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's what a 9 to 5 job is.
Yep.
Home ec, they took home ec out. And trust me, I know how to sew. A lot of people will look at me and they're like, you know how to sew, Chris? Yeah, I know how to sew. Because in home ec, I had to sew things.
Yeah.
I had to sew holes, buttons, all that. I know how to sew. They taught you baking. They taught you cleaning. They don't teach you that anymore.
No.
Why? Because they want to train you mentally to work that 9 to 5. Once you're finished working for the owners of the businesses or the Wall Street firms, you then go ahead and retire, put your money at Wall Street and call it a day and then die. That's what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a Rick and Morty episode, actually.
100%.
And, I remember I lived next to a high school in one of the towns I lived in Colorado, and it was graduation day, and all these kids are graduating. And I just looked over and I'm like, you poor little fuckers. Like, you're literally opening the bird cage to let all these little birds out and fly with no training for life.
No, most of the time you clip their wings.
You do.
You clip they've clipped their wings and they say, hey, go fly. And then they go and they just fall.
They don't know how to do taxes. That was something I struggled with. I had a huge tax debt.
Yeah.
Because I was never taught properly, even by my parents. My parents never taught us money management.
No.
They never showed us any of this stuff.
They don't teach you when you hit a different income bracket, you have to pay quarterly taxes. They don't teach you that. And I was just talking to a business partner this morning. I said, I wish someone told me early on to save 20 to 30% of the gross for legal fees. Because when you are growing big businesses, people will sue you for anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got a cease and desist a couple days ago because our ad was very similar to another person's ad, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we got it off Canva, we designed it ourselves. Like,
Sue Canva.
they're like, it says earn 12%. Well, that's not illegal. Like, anyone can say that. Oh yeah. So any little thing you are going to go through the legal battle. As a business owner, you have to be prepared for that. These kids in college are not prepared for it. College does not prepare you for that. And it's super important to understand that when you are going to get out into this real world.
I think that every person should have to work in the service industry.
100%. I agree with that.
They need to learn to serve.
100%.
I see people treat waiters and waitresses like shit,
my God.
and it infuriates me. You never worked in the service industry, did you?
No. I mean, if it's bad service, I will, say something.
So will I.
And it's not because I'm complaining. It's because I want to make their managing systems better at the restaurant.
Me too.
Now, I can see if a waiter is slammed. The host overbooked them with tables. They're running around with their head cut off. The kitchen may be backed up. Okay, well, the kitchen backed up is not the server's issue.
Yep.
If they're giving great customer service, great.
Yep.
I will actually over tip. And the reason why is because of that positive energy will change the other table's lives.
Yep.
Because of that, you're giving that positive energy to that server. They're going to go ahead and be, maybe open up their better customer service to those other tables.
Money is energy.
100%. So I will actually over tip when I'm in that type of situation. But I agree with you. Everyone should be in the service industry.
Service industry, and we should make them take a year to 2 years to not go into some school unless they know.
Correct.
There's that verse in the Bible, truth is truth wherever it comes from, whether it's Rick and Morty or the Bible, but raise up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. See, people miss that because the key is raise a child up in the way they should go, right? The way we live our lives, the ways we communicate with them. Teach them the things that you feel they're going to need to know based upon their gifts and talents. And then when they're old, they will not depart from it. They're going to depart from it.
100%.
They're going to
change. They're going to adapt to the new world and everything. Yeah.
Because they have their own trip.
Yep.
And, there's that other verse in the Bible that says, like arrows in the hands of a warrior, so is a child in the hands of his father. You aim them and you let him go. And when you let an arrow go, I don't know if you've shot archery.
Oh, I have. We did that in school, but they don't do that anymore.
That's insane.
Yeah, I did that in school. I learned how to. And then we were graded on hitting a bullseye.
Exactly. So, when you let an arrow go, it weaves and it looks like it's not going to hit the target, and then it hits the target.
Correct.
It's the same thing with our children.
Yeah.
And so, I look at all that and I'm like, you just got to do the best you can as a parent. And I have another saying that I always say, I'm like, let people take their fucking trip.
Yeah.
We all get in the way of people taking their trip. We want to correct them. We want to corral them. We want to tell them that's stupid. Don't do this. You need to do that. And we end up getting in the way of the lessons life wants to teach.
What I do with my son is when he wants to do something and I don't think it's right, I voice my opinion with communication. I say, Cruz, I don't feel that this is right. Here are the potential consequences if you do this. However, I go ahead and do this if you feel like you want to do this, but here are the potential consequences. So you have to understand what may come about when you do that action.
Yes.
And I let him do it. And if he falls, I said, hey, remember we discussed that was one of the potential consequences. And it helps him understand that.
Yes, because, knowledge without action, it's wisdom comes when we take action on knowledge and we have experience. And so a lot of people are full of a ton of knowledge, but they have no wisdom because of experience. And so, I use the Bible a lot because there's a lot of truth in that, and it was what I was raised in. And the story of Samson, I don't know if you are familiar with that story, but in the Bible, the story of Samson, he had long hair, and his power somehow lied connected to the growth of his hair. Anyways, Samson, he fell in love with a Philistine woman, which was a big no-no.
Okay.
And his family was very angered by it. And so his family took action to make sure that he was not with this Philistine woman, which is what created this whole story around Samson and getting his hair cut, losing his power, and just going through torment with other women and stuff like this. But the thing is that it says that his parents did not know that God put it in his heart to fall in love with this Philistine woman. And that's why you have to let people take their fucking trip, because
I love it.
That was in his heart. Follow the desires of your heart, and you'll never miss life. You'll never miss
Most
God.
definitely.
And your heart's not always going to make sense. See, the mind is here to protect us. The mind is here to stress over things because it sees that we're going to get devoured, so it's here to protect us. The heart is unpredictable. The heart is guided by forces that we, to this day, don't fully understand.
Yeah, no.
And so when we trust our heart and follow our heart, there's so many times I've been in situations where I'm like, this is a really bad situation, and I feel scared. My mind is screaming at me, and I stop, and I get quiet, and my heart is telling me to go forward with it.
Interesting.
And I have learned amazing things and gone through amazing experiences that didn't make sense. To this day, they don't fully make sense, but I know I did what I was supposed to do because I followed my heart.
Interesting. So you and I are complete opposite with that. I am business only. And it's actually been, in some cases, very difficult in relationships, because in relationships, I'm like business. And I think out of, okay, if this situation happens, what are the consequences, or what will happen from there? I try to take all emotions out of it, because what I've learned in the type of business I'm in, when you put emotions in there, it's gone. You've lost. And it works in different type of businesses and things like that. But that's very interesting. I like that.
Well, relationships, I wanted to be a marriage counselor.
Okay.
And I have studied.
Hold on. Before we get to the marriage counselor, let's talk about the mountain biking, because my mind is still on you mountain biking professionally.
Okay.
So what so you rode horses. That's very extreme. And horses can feel body energy too.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
And a little side subject, my buddy owns some horses up in the mountains, and I've gone up there and rode them, and he's like, be careful, this one will buck you. And right when I got on it, I squeezed my thighs up against it, and I patted it on its neck. And it was so calm, and I'm a very calm person too. And so when we got up to the mountain, he goes, I've never seen that horse act like that. And I said, well, I basically spoke to the horse with my energy, letting the horse know, you're not going to control me. I'm the boss here, and we're going to have fun together. And so that's super important when it comes to horseback riding too.
So my dad always taught me, because one of the last things that I did before we left the ranch was I was breaking a horse with my dad. And before I found out I was pregnant with my second child, so then I had to get rid of the horse just for safety precautions.
Oh, most definitely.
But one of the things my dad always taught me is he always taught me, don't you ever move slowly and softly to a horse.
No.
You always move firm and
Correct.
pat them hard, you know? And I associate that even to relationships.
Yeah.
You know, if a man, for me as a woman, if a man does not move confidently with me,
Most definitely.
it makes me want to spook.
You can feel that energy.
Yeah.
Oh, you can feel that.
Confidence is everything.
Most definitely. The way you dress, your mindset, when someone walks into that room, when I'm having a cigar and you walk into that room, I feel you. I feel your energy.
Yes.
I felt your energy when you would leave to go to the restroom in the cigar lounge. You could feel that energy. And when you left, this is a great positive. Even the bartender and the server was like, she is gorgeous. The way she dresses, her and I overheard them say that, and it's because of how you present, your energy, who you are as a person, all that hard work you've worked on with yourself and your core, that's rubbing off on them.
And the thing that people need to understand is sometimes you got to fake that till you make it.
You
It's
do.
about embodying what you know. So it's about, this is another subject we'll get into later, but I have to get up sometimes, like even with horses. I would be terrified of this horse that we were working with.
Oh, I bet.
And I would have to be trembling inside, but walk up to that horse, firmly grab
Correct.
the halter, pat it on the neck, you know, ask it to move and do things aggressively, even
Correct.
though inside I was fucking terrified.
And that's the life of business owners too.
Yes.
You know, certain business owners, we have to be able to get sued and go to bed at night, get enough rest, wake up. We have to be strong in front of our team. There's certain things that are going on in our lives that we can't let the team know, but they have to see you as a leader.
Boom.
Because if they see any weakness in you or any doubt or anything, they then question everything.
Yep.
And so you have to have that type of energy, that mindset. And we're going to talk about you and how you've cultivated that mindset. And I know it's a lot of inner work with yourself, but we're going to get back. We got to get back to this mountain biking. So we will. Eventually, we will cover this mountain biking. Talk to us about that. You know, when was the first time you got on a bike? What really said, okay, I'm going to go mountain biking, and that's what I fell in love with, essentially.
Well, I hated cardio growing up, and I was a big skier. So in high school, I started hanging out with some guy friends. Like I said, high school is a very important time
to find your niche.
Yes, to start helping children find their potential in life. And I fell in love with skiing. My family, my dad was